Hi, I'm Hannah from Index Ventures, and I'm going to be catching up with Job van der Voort and learning more about him and his company, Remotecom. Hi, Job.
Hi, Hannah. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, as always.
All right, so I have a few questions wanted to ask you today.
I'm ready.
Building this business is an incredibly bureaucratic and slow process. You have really built this from the ground up. You own entities in all the markets in which you operate. What motivated you to build Remote?
The ability to hire the best person on the planet for any given job is incredibly powerful. But even for an individual, the ability to not have to commute to work and spend all those hours in the morning, the possibility of working for the best companies in the world to earn a really great wage, even though you live in the middle of nowhere, like myself, that's incredibly powerful, and that drives us every day.
What's the biggest challenge for remote organizations?
What we find is that the differences between countries are massive. And we keep being surprised by it, even though we've done this now tens of times, how difficult it can be to set up a local entity and to start doing those kind of things. The second largest challenge is to make sure that your team bonds and that you build a strong culture as a company. No longer are you in a position where this comes naturally because you happen to be in the same space together. So now you actually have to be explicit about it and think to yourself, how can I make sure that people get to know each other, that they build a rapport with each other, and that they're happy to work together.
So you used to be a neuroscientist. How did you go from that to being the founder of a remote work company?
I wanted to still do things, create things, discover things, but at a higher pace than what science gave me. So I guess that is ultimately what brought me from one end to the other.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
A journalist.
Ah, interesting. Why didn't you become a journalist?
I changed my mind. I like writing, but I felt like I could do that in any profession I did.
I guess especially with remote work, being a good writer is pretty critical, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's super important to be a good communicator, and written communication is big part of that, yeah.
Our view is that recruiting will become totally different in this new world. Employers have an infinite pool of candidates to choose from. Employees have a somewhat infinite pool of companies that they can go and work for. How do you think recruiting will be fundamentally changed in this new world?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the interesting things that we see is that the demand today for remote work is much higher than the availability of remote work, meaning that if you have positions available at your organization, and an organization that does well in the sense that you pay your employees well, you provide good benefits to them, it's incredibly easy to find great people. The shift starts to go from, we need to search for candidates and we need to find great people to how do we manage, getting in so many people and having to choose between all of them, even for smaller organizations. Another thing that we think about very often is when we started Remote, we had this vision that rather than saying, oh, I'm looking for people in this area or I'm looking for people in this country, you can just say, oh, I'm looking for people in this band of time zones, like plus minus 3 hours from where we are. And that is definitely something that we'll start to see more and more often, because we can solve time zones. That's a hard constraint, but within those time zones, you will still find literally 1 billion people.
When you think about what the future holds, it's so exciting. It's like you're building this meritocracy in hiring that could never exist before. It must be a super busy time for you with a new baby born. Literally just as you were fundraising, I think the day you kicked off the fundraise. What is the most significant way that becoming a dad has changed you?
I used to think that I was this harsh person, like this tough, driven person. Now, I still believe that I'm driven, but I realized I'm a big softie on the inside.
Total softie. Okay, so thanks a lot, Job. It was great to chat to you and get a bit more insight into the man behind Remotecom. Thanks for sharing all your thoughts and being so open and honest, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, Hannah.
Bye.